Hey guys, I'm on my way home from church, and today we had a guest speaker, and they talked to us about a lot of things, one of which is Mark 11:24. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And that's the New International, no, I almost said the New International King James Version, the NIV version, the New International Version. Thinking about that on the way home, actually, I believe that. I firmly believe that scripture, and gosh, I want to talk about something difficult and personal, and I don't know how to start. Bear with me. If you are my friend on socials, you might have seen that my husband and I did do a GoFundMe and ask for help. And I'm going to talk about what has happened, what is going on, what's happening now. Okay, so my husband and I moved into where we live now a long time ago. And since we've lived there, our rent has increased almost 100%. Last year alone, my rent went up $800. This year, I was given a 3-month notice, but my rent was increased additionally $500. Of course, that created a state of panic in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, and I can't stay here. So my lease is up May 14th. So with that 3-month note, well, 3 months and 14 days, technically, my husband and I talked a great deal, and we're like, you know what? We would rather pay for our own mortgage than someone else's rent. And that's what our mind was doing. That's what our mind is doing. That's the plan. That's the goal. That's what's going on. And I was on a crunch. Look. This is what we got to do. So I helped a client, I feel like this might be long. I helped a client get into a first-time home buyer assistance program, and they gave her an $80,000 down payment for her house for a first-time buyer plan, and I'm like, that's what we're going to do. I work in nonprofit. My husband's a security guard. Neither of us are pulling in the 6 figures. That's what we're going to do. So I reached out to Dean Trentalis, and he linked me to the right person, and blah, 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 blah. For you to have a Fort Lauderdale or Broward County first-time buyer assistance plan, you have to make under $50,000 a year for one person. If you're 2 people married, or 2 people in the same house. If your grandma lives with you, or your kid lives with you, or if there's a 2-person household, your income cannot be over 58. Thankfully, my husband and I make more than 58 together. So the first-time buyer plan was completely out. But I didn't give up. I contacted a friend of mine who's a realtor. Well, he contacted the mortgage broker. We got approved for an FHA loan, which is a first-time something mortgage plan, because we haven't been saving up, and we haven't been planning on buying a house, so we don't have a deposit. And we were approved. Now, I have student loans. We both have cars, etc. So we were only approved for about 200. It depends on how big the HOA is, and if it's a townhouse or a condo, and different fees that go into things. But around the 200 price range. In the neighborhood that I really want to live in, nothing's under 500. So my husband and I have opened our hearts and souls to all of Broward County. Let's look at things. Anything. I would love a high-rise, but most high-rises don't have enough space for us. I'm going to need about 1,000 square feet, at least, with all my stuff. And we want children. And we have stuff. He wants a house with a yard. I think we compromised, and we were ideally looking for townhouses. I do like townhouses. He likes townhouses. Perfect. A house with a yard in a hurricane state scares me a little bit, but I'm not opposed to that either. So we started looking. Hard from December to April, etc. For our price range, $200,000 for a 2-bed puts us into some very questionable neighborhoods. That's what we can afford. That's where we're going. Now, increase anxiety levels as a transgender person living in the state of Florida that now is basically going to be an open carry state. Also, 85% of trans clients in the state of Florida of any age are now being denied hormone replacement therapy and or medical care. Florida schools K through 12. There's rules saying don't say gay, can't say anything LGBTQ. They've banned books like Rosa Parks and The Diary of Anne Frank and anything with LGBTQ topics in them at all. So living in this current political climate, of course my nerves are on edge. And now I'm moving to hopefully my forever home. And what about my neighbors? And what about a lot of things? So my anxiety levels were extremely high and are still very open and aware and cautious. So I do need your continued prayers. So I found a place, my realtor actually found a place, that was on the FHA list. And we went there, and it was in a very questionable neighborhood, but it was in a high-rise on the 6th floor in a gated community in a, well, not gated, but locked lobby. You had to call the call box to get up. The parking garage was on the 1st floor, and you could go up the elevator, or your guests can go into the lobby and buzz you, etc. It felt very safe. I felt safe. One of my favorite things about it is I hate it when you go to an apartment complex and you're in the parking lot and you can see all the people walking to their exact apartment like, oh, that person's home today. I don't like that. I loved it. My husband loved it. I loved it. It checked so many things in my spirit. The only thing that it didn't have was an indoor or in-unit washer and dryer. That's literally the only thing that we could find that we didn't like. My husband was like, we have to have it in the apartment. However, it was on the floor that our unit was on. And I'm like, baby, we can deal with it. We made an offer. Now, again, it's in a questionable neighborhood, in a questionable town that most people are like, oh my God, Misty, you're not moving to this town. But there's lots of redlining. Redlining is a term used by real estate agents for decades of keeping out questionable, marginalized communities. So some of the redlining was on the ad. For example, you must have a credit score of 670 or higher. My husband and I both have over 700. Check. You must put a 2-year HOA deposit down, which was like $4,000 some. Check. Got that. Income per apartment has to be over $60,000 for 2 people. Check. Got that. The red line that we didn't see and wasn't in the ad for the apartment was must have 10% down in escrow. That wasn't on the ad. But the apartment was listed in FHA, which is specifically geared for people who don't have a deposit or a down payment. So we made an offer not knowing about the 10%. The seller accepted our offer, and the seller's real estate agent was like, oh, but you guys don't have the 10% in escrow. And he was like, what are you talking about? It's an FHA house. Yes, the house can be sold as FHA. However, the HOA, the housing association, has a requirement of 10% down in escrow. Escrow means a deposit before the paperwork, whatever. So this $200,000 apartment, I had to put $20,000 down. So I was like, panicked. Literally, we have less than a month to move out of my house. You know what? It's God. It's a God thing. God brought this perfect place to us in the nick of time. It's perfect. I'm going to get the $20,000. So I don't think I initially realized how much $20,000 was. Like, I didn't even realize it was basically the price of a brand new car. I was like in survival mode, in panic mode. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it. Don't worry, we've got this. Then one of my friends was like, Misty, $20,000? That's a lot of money. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to talk to 20 of my friends, and maybe they can all give me $1,000. Girl, that is easier said than done. I am a person who does not like to ask for help. I am a person who refuses to ask for help. I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And you know what's funny? That's the only thing I've always gotten in trouble of as a waiter, but also at work, like executive director is often like, this needs to be done. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. He's like, why don't you ask your team to do it? Well, I could, but also I could just do it. And he's like, Misty, use your team. That's why you have a team, to do stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't mind doing it. It's probably easier if I do it anyway. I don't like asking for help. I just get it done. I just do it myself. Let's get it done. Done. So I did a GoFundMe. Put up look, we literally have until May 1st to get this done. Thankfully, I have some amazing friends out there. It's the seller called my realtor, and the realtor called me, whatever, we got on the call. And the seller was like, so how we doing? And I'm like, I've got 5,000 of it so far. Bear with me. I'm going to figure it out. And he said, someone just came in and offered more than asking. Now, mind you, we offered 10,000 less than asking, so we went in at 190 instead of 200. And he's like, look, I'm sorry, I can't wait. I'm going to take the other offer. Because we didn't sign anything. It was John and I signed. He didn't sign anything. He's just like, yeah, this is fine, we'll wait, whatever. Also, somebody came in and offered more than he was asking for, which is way more than I offered. So that fell. When I tell you the dark place that I went to, right before finals, by the way, but panic. I didn't know what I was going to do. And now I'm like, I'm going to be locked into another lease that I can't afford. I can't afford my new lease. So then April 14th, I paid my last month's rent. And I wrote him another email. And I said, John and I will renew. But can we please go month to month? because we can't afford this and we would like to buy and find a place of our very own. I'm super embarrassed to say that the seller didn't wait for me to come up with the $20,000. I'm super embarrassed to say that the community that I was hoping would cheer behind me and rally and help me raise $20,000 didn't. But I also believe God has a plan. And today in church we were talking about Mark 11:24. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So I was talking to another person this week about our dream home, so to speak. And literally this would have been our dream home. Like, we would have moved in and probably never left. This would have been our 30-year lease and 30-year residence, and, you know, that's it. Somebody was telling me that the condo laws are changing in Florida, and it's probably a good thing. And so maybe this was an answer to prayer that I didn't know about. Maybe God was steering me away and like, look, I know this is your ideal, and I know this is what you want, but it's not the right time or it's not the right whatever. So he at least opened our landlord's heart to let us leave our lease anytime we want with a 30-day notice, which obviously I'm going to use my last month's rent. And it takes 45 to 60 days to close, so I'm going to give him a 2-month notice once I start closing. And, yeah. So I re-signed May 14th. We re-signed our lease. We are back in another contract, but I am able to leave this contract. So my landlord, my realtor now is still looking. We are still looking for FHA houses. We are still looking for FHA condos. We are still looking for FHA townhouses. And stay tuned to see what God does. Because I will continue to pray about it. I will continue to believe and expect a miracle. I just don't know what it will be. Like, for example, on my need list, we need an oven. Because where we live now, it doesn't have an oven. And we need an oven. I would love an oven with two 2-in-1 ovens. Just keep praying for us. Long story short, we were not able to get our dream home. But we are still looking. Thank you. Loving you, ZZ, and keep praying.